Apart from the Bermuda Triangle, Bigfoot, and the mystery of Area 51, there's one puzzlement which has always got me, and that's why people vote for George Galloway. If George Galloway was involved in a secret Roman garrison ordered to spy on a Saxon village with the potential for invasion, Galloway would be the man going, "There they are!" from behind a hillock, giving away the garrison's position, and of course allowing the Saxons ample time to arm themselves for the forthcoming slaughter. Such was the situation he found himself in this week, when he was challenged by the media. It's a somewhat different situation, by being slaughtered by Roman warriors. Oh, sorry, play the clip.
I'm standing here at George Galloway's campaign headquarters. George Galloway, did you just watch the Prime Minister's speech?
I didn't watch it, but I understood the first part of it related to the Rochdale by-election.
So you haven't watched it, but the media think you're worthy of actually commenting on it. OK, this should be good.
The Prime Minister has just said that your election of you to Parliament is beyond horrifying. What do you say to that?
Well, I can understand how disappointed he is about the by-election. The Conservative Party, which is the government of the country...
Nobody can say George Galloway doesn't bring you news, views and opinions, which you can research and find out to be true. That was one of them.
...was crushed, not just by me, but by an independent candidate that no one had ever heard of before outside of Rochdale.
I bet the people of Rochdale are watching this and thinking, what have we done?
So it was a disastrous night for the Conservatives and a disastrous night for Labour.
But all that pales into insignificance with the disaster that now faces Rochdale.
I got more votes than Labour and the Conservatives and the Liberal Democrats and the Reform Party put together.
Yes, that's kind of how democracy works. I don't know what it's like in your region, George, but that's kind of like the idea of the whole voting thing.
Which adds up to a pretty crushing rejection of the two-party system. So I understand why he's alarmed.
Hang on, you just named 4 parties, but you say it's a two-party system. Are you having problems counting there?
I want you to address some of the specifics that the Prime Minister said about you this evening. He said that you backed Hezbollah. Is that true?
I don't know what that means, backed Hezbollah. I oppose Israel's occupation of Lebanon, and I respect the right of people in occupied territory to resist their occupier. And I've done so since Hezbollah was formed and Israel occupied much of Lebanon, right up to the Litani River, regularly bombing Beirut and so on. So I'm not sure what business that is of his, because you see,
Hezbollah are a terrorist organisation.
Actually, they're part of the government of Lebanon, a country with which we have sovereign diplomatic relations.
OK, he's more or less factually accurate. Hezbollah, the Party of Allah, or the Party of God, is a political party, a militant group led since 1992 by the Secretary-General Hassan Nasrallah. Hezbollah's paramilitary wing is the Jihad Council, and it was established by the Lebanese clerics primarily to fight the 1982 Israeli invasion of Lebanon, and it works on a model adopted and suggested by Ayatollah Khomeini. Continue.
I had this debate with Sky's Anna Botting in 2006. It's quite an epic clip. You should watch it. More than 100 million people have.
I'd monetize that, George. You could make a few quid.
They said all these things about me in the by-election. And in the by-election, it was them that got crushed in the democratic process. So I'm not sure why he would reheat it now.
The Prime Minister is saying
talk
that
as if this is God. We're talking about little Rishi Sunak in the fag end of his prime ministership. Don't talk to me as if he's come down from the mount with tablets of stone. The things that he says are somehow meant to awe me. They may awe you, they don't awe me.
A lot of people have just watched what the Prime Minister said. This is your opportunity to respond to what he said. Well, he says that there are forces here at home trying to tear us apart. He is implying you are a divisive figure. You have run an election campaign that has tried to appeal, particularly, not entirely, to one section of the community.
Who won the election? Me or Rishi Sunak? I've got the Democratic mandate here, not Rishi Sunak. He didn't even come second. He was lucky to come third. So don't put to me statements made by Rishi Sunak as if I'm supposed to be impressed by them. He don't impress me much.
In Rochdale, George Galloway ran on a ticket suggesting to local people in Rochdale, many of whom have relatives in the Middle East, that he was going to stand up and make a case for the government to interfere in what was happening between Israel and Gaza, particularly on the Gaza Strip. In every single debate that has happened since George Galloway was elected, George Galloway has been absent from every single debate, and we don't exactly know why.
We at Sky have spent some time today on the streets of Rochdale, and there are people who say that they feel intimidated by people like you and the people that have supported you.
I have just
and they have pointed out that you have concentrated your campaign on foreign affairs, and they worry that Rochdale will not be the winner.
That's my answer to you. I was just elected with a thumping majority by the electorate in Rochdale. That's all that matters to me.
So why are there people on the streets of Rochdale today worried?
Well, people voted yesterday, and they voted for me. Why is that difficult for you to grasp?
Why are there people on the streets worried?
There may be people who didn't vote for me who are worried, but the majority, the thumping majority, voted for me.
And I think the unfortunate turn of phrase with thumping majority is not exactly out of place there. The problem is that George Galloway seems to have made a series of promises to people, and it's just going to inflame the situation. And frankly, if you're elected as an MP anywhere, you should be representing your entire constituency, not just a faction of it who voted for you.
I've got the mandate, and I'm going to the House of Commons with it.
And it's a mandate, you think, to do what? Because there are people that listen to what you say about whether or not Israel has a right to exist, what you say about what many Jewish people think are threatening slogans.
We had this conversation last night. Why are you reheating it?
Because in the light of the Prime Minister's
Don't keep
statement.
telling me about the Prime Minister as if he was Moses.
Do you not respect the Prime Minister?
Do I respect the Prime Minister? I despise the Prime Minister. And guess what? Guess what? Millions and millions and millions of people in this country despise the Prime Minister. I don't respect the Prime Minister at all.
Now, he has a point, and he's well entitled to express his opinion. But in a democratic society, you treat your opponents with some degree of respect. That's the only way to move forward. If you just say, I despise you and I have nothing to do with you, what you will end up with is always a stalemate. George Galloway works on principles of tapping into various discontents and issues which really have nothing to do with him, and then just coasts along quite nicely with his little clique of followers behind him, complaining that, well, I was elected on a democratic mandate, when what he's representing is anything but democratic.
What are you planning to do next week when you arrive in Parliament?
Well, I'm meeting the Speaker on Monday morning, and then I'll be introduced and sworn in. I'll be escorted by the Right Honourable David Davis MP, former Deputy Leader of the Conservative Party. I don't know why he would do that if he thought I was the kind of man you're clearly implying that I am. David Davis is one of the great parliamentarians of today and this age. And I'll be taking my seat in the House of Commons and speaking for the people of Rochdale. That's what I was elected to do.
OK, that's probably enough of that for now. David Davis will be greeting you and showing you around and showing you to your office, because that's what he's there to do. And also, it's good that he's working in a democratic way to actually welcome members of the opposition, people who are going to speak up in important matters in opposing parties, no matter what their opinions. If their opinions are abhorrent, they can be debated, dissected and dismissed. If their opinions hold some water, they can be held over for further examination by the democratic process. But that's what democracy is. It's a process of negotiation between the absurd and the sensible. And somewhere in the middle, you meet a happy medium. And unless you're prepared to make that stride and move and negotiate and compromise, then you don't have a democracy. What you have is a shouting match. And George Galloway is very, very good at shouting matches, but he's not that great at democracy. I'm going to leave it there, but I'll leave a link down below for the actual entire interview, which you can listen to without my verbiage in the middle, because it's very strange and it doesn't say anything, but it goes on for 15 minutes.